What is up, YouTube? I am Eric and you are watching Retro Video Game Pickups, and in this video we are talking about the story of the failed PlayStation 1 Classic. And honestly, there are a bunch of crazy things that happened with this, but I want you guys to know before we get into it to make sure you remember to subscribe, because it lets you know when I post more videos. Make sure while you're at it you hit that bell notification because it helps this channel out. With that being said, let's hop into it. So let's talk about before the PlayStation Classic was actually released. Now, it was announced and people were excited about it. I was excited about it, but then they announced some of the games and it wasn't a bad list, but it wasn't a great list, and people were like, okay, there's a few games. Hopefully these are just kind of teasers and we'll get more of the full story. But then they got all the games and we were just kind of let down. Honestly, the list was not that strong here in North America. It was a little stronger in Japan, but just overall it was kind of okay. It's almost like they didn't want to pay royalties or something like that to actually get those games that are very good. So I think that was a big problem starting off with the PlayStation 1 Classic. But then it got a little worse when people saw what it actually looked like in the GUI, which was the interface that the users would use. Now, you would see the kind of the screenshots of the covers art and you would be interested in the game. However, there wasn't any music. It was just kind of a drab blue background and it wasn't anything all that great. And honestly, some of the North American games actually came out with the settings set to PAL. Now, people figured out later on how to change that to North America settings, but that's just bad for a system to release in a region with the wrong region, which really means is the frame rate and the hertz were wrong for those actual games, which meant they were running slower, which if you know about some of those games, running slower just makes a game way worse. So that was one thing that was really plaguing the system at the beginning, was this whole PAL versus North America games, NTSC, and kind of just not hitting the ground running. They kind of like hit the ground and fell flat, and honestly it was something that they could have fixed that would have been an easy fix and could have definitely made it more kind of wanted or in demand at the point of the release day. Now let's actually talk about when this released. It released at $100, which was kind of expensive but kind of not. You got two controllers, but honestly one thing that this was lacking was dual shock controllers. Honestly, you didn't have those, which meant you couldn't play some of the games you're probably used to, because in my day I remember playing with the DualShock controllers. Now I had the ones without it, but everyone hated those. Those were your second, third, and fourth players, and maybe your backups to your backup. Maybe when I say fourth player, I mean like literally your backup to your backup, which just is a bad thing to come out of the gates with controllers that are kind of lackluster. And so that kind of sucked for the system as well. Now it was $100. It came with 20 games. The games were okay. The list, like I said, was kind of weak. There was a few good ones, but there weren't any great ones that I thought were definitely ones that people would love to play. And so I think that hurt it as well, because that price was so high up there compared to the $60 NES or the $80 SNES Classic. This was $100. This was $40 more than the NES Classic, and the NES Classic had like 20 games that were better. Actually, all of the games on the NES Classic, in my eyes, were better than the ones on the PlayStation Classic. Now, don't get me wrong, some of those games on the PlayStation Classic are awesome, but they just didn't really have a good appeal, or maybe they weren't playable or replayable as much. So that's kind of my thought about that. But at $100 for games that are just kind of okay, it's kind of lackluster system, and that's kind of the reason it didn't sell well. And when I say it didn't sell well, I mean it didn't sell well. I actually had the opportunity to buy one like 3 days before at Walmart. they checked me out, but then they weren't able to, and I was like, dang, I should have bought this, but I wasn't able to, so whatever. And then the day came where it released, and I was like, I'm so thankful that I didn't buy one, because honestly, for $100, it was a hunk of junk. Now, don't get me wrong, the system itself looked good, it looked great, and honestly, I could see why people were wanting it because of kind of the appeal of how it looked. But once it got down to the games, it just wasn't all that worth the money, and so I feel like I totally lucked out. I'm so thankful that I didn't actually buy one that day, because I know I would not play it. It'd probably be up there on the shelf back there and would go unplayed. So I'm very happy I passed on it. But fast forward to it was first marked down to 75, and so I was like, okay, maybe this is worth it, but no one had really hacked it, which if you know about the NES or the SNES, people hacked it and put more games on it. Now, I did this with my NES with games that I owned, and then on the SNES, I just didn't do it. So honestly, I was like, I have a PlayStation 1. I have games that I want to play, so I just wasn't really wanting to actually mod it. And at that time, not many people had actually modded it, so it was kind of a more difficult thing to do, and it just wasn't really worth it. Well, fast forward just a little bit of time, and it dropped to about $50, and $50 I said was like my perfect spot to buy this. Well, $50 came around, and I was like, I still don't want to do this, and I saw it for like $50, $40, $75. It was all around where you were located or what kind of store was selling it, because they're trying to get rid of it as fast as they can. And I saw a few, and I just wasn't ever willing to go out and buy them. But then something absolutely amazing happened. They were actually selling iPhones and giving away these PlayStation Classics. I believe, if I'm correct, it was Best Buy, and I was like, wow, even Best Buy is willing to give these away if you buy an iPhone. And at that point, I was blown away, and so I made a video talking about, was it worth it to buy an iPhone just to get your PlayStation 1 Classic? And honestly, at that point, I said no, and I still think that to this day, that buying an iPhone in order to get a PlayStation Classic is kind of a joke, completely a joke, and just kind of was a failure from the start. And then I saw it for $40 more places, and I was like, maybe I've got to get one of these. I've got this channel and I wanted to talk about it, but there wasn't ever that reason that I was like, I gotta go pick this up, I gotta go play it, and I gotta review it for you guys. Because honestly, at that point, people were flooding the market with it, and I may do it in the future. I haven't figured that out yet, but it was one of those things that everyone was talking about. They were dogging on it, and it just still wasn't even worth it for that. And now, fast forward to kind of where we are today. Today, right now, you could probably go out and find one for $25. That is absolutely insane. This thing released about 6 to 7 to 8 months ago, and it is a fourth of the price of what it was. So that tells you a few things. One, they didn't spend that much money on these, and they marked them way, way, way up, which is just a sad, sad thing. But then it dropped more and more and more, and now we're sitting at $25, and honestly, I don't even know if it's worth it at that point. Now, I will say those USB controllers look pretty cool. I think I will probably pick one up and let you guys know kind of what I think about them. I'll do an unboxing when I pick it up. I will even give you a review of it probably in the future, but right now I think it's just everyone's talked about it, everyone's beat the dead horse. It's just not really worth it. So when I see one for $25, I'm like, maybe I'll pick it up, maybe I won't. But if I'm gonna pick it up, I'm probably gonna mod it and put the games that I actually want to play, that I actually probably own, and hook it up to my TV out in the living room and be good. So when I say that, I definitely want you guys to know that, hey, this is something that Sony made, that they hyped it up so much. There was these things. I myself was excited about it. Then we got the games, and then everything just kind of fell in place and kind of fell flat, like I said, and just wasn't really worth it. So I think this is kind of the lifelong, really short story of the failed PlayStation Classic, because it starts at $100 with a bunch of games that are just okay. The user interface was bad, pretty much. It was really simple, just wasn't done well. People did figure out how to change settings once you hooked up a keyboard and things like that, but overall it shipped poorly. Actually, it shipped a ton, sold poorly, and now we're still seeing it 6 to 8 months later. The prices are just driving down, down, and down. And honestly, if I was someone who picked it up when it was $100, I would probably be disappointed. So that is one thing that I think we as gamers and kind of as tech industry people, we kind of got to keep our eye on things and see, hey, is this thing worth $100? Because in 6 months, will it be worth 25 or will it be worth 200? And that's hard to tell. Like with the NES, it was worth way more right after than it was when it was sold, but the exact opposite happened with the PlayStation Classic, and I think they were banking on it doubling its money. And honestly, I think they shipped way too many of these and they didn't really put enough effort into the user interface. So here we are, down to the end of the story, or at least to the end of the story so far. $25 for one of these, and it's just still not even worth it. So with that being said, I want to know what you guys think. Make sure you comment down below and let me know what you think of the PlayStation Classic. Did you buy one? Did you pass on buying one? Did you buy one for a cheaper price? Did you mod yours? Anything about it, I want to know what you guys think, or kind of your opinions. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Hit that bell notification because it lets you know when I post more videos. And with that being said, I want to say one more time, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a good day.